All right, welcome to my speech 2. Here we have my audience members for today, 3 of them. All right, I want to thank everybody for coming in today. Welcome. Today we are going to be talking about the increasing costs of drugs in America, and medication costs. So first, I want to start. Just imagine being told that your medication that you need to stay alive has doubled in price in no less than a span of a year. For many Americans, that is not an exaggeration because it's becoming their reality. As someone who's worked in the pharmacy field for roughly 7 years, I see firsthand how many patients struggle to afford their prescriptions, sometimes having to choose between their medications and other necessities. The issue of rising drug costs isn't only about numbers, it's about people's health and the quality of life. Today, I am here to inform you about the rising drug costs of prescription medications by exploring the main causes behind the increase in drug prices, the effects these costs have on patients and the healthcare system, and the current efforts and strategies being developed to reduce medication expenses. Let's begin by understanding what's driving the rising costs of prescription medications. The rising costs of prescription medications are largely due to factors such as a lack of price regulation, the high cost of drug development, and limited market competition. According to the Congressional Budget Office in 2021, it takes on an average about $2.6 billion in over a decade to bring a new drug to the market. These high research and development costs are often used to justify steep prices in the prescription market. As well, the US government does not regulate drug prices like many other countries do. A result of this, the pharmaceutical companies can set a price as high as the market will bear, as high as they are able to allow it to do. Another example is that the lack of pharmaceutical companies and the lack of generic competitors allows brand name drugs to maintain high prices even after patents expire. For example, pay for delay agreements prevent cheaper generics from entering the market. Some examples include high cost medications such as Eliquis or Xarelto, which are used for blood thinners, a life saving medication, and some can be Farxiga or Rybelsus, which are used for diabetes, taken as a form of a pill rather than insulin. Now that we understand what causes drug prices to rise, let's look at how these costs impact the patients in the healthcare system. High prescription drug costs have serious effects on patients' health outcomes, adherence to treatment, and the overall cost burden on the healthcare system. A 2022 study by the Kaiser Family Foundation found that nearly 3 in 10 Americans have skipped doses or not filled the prescription due to the cost. This week alone, I spoke to 3 different patients, one of which wasn't able to get their prescription due to the high cost price, one who was struggling to get the cost and they were complaining to me about this issue being so high, but it's a necessity medication, and a third who just skipped everything due together to price and because they just straight up couldn't afford it. Situations like these often lead to worsening health conditions and hospital readmissions. In addition, rising medication costs also strain insurance programs like Medicare and Medicaid, which must absorb parts of these expenses. This contributes to higher taxes and premiums for everyone, which can lead to even more financial struggles down the road. Going off of what I said earlier, it isn't uncommon for pharmacists to see patients forced to choose between food, rent, and their medication. And these real-world struggles emphasize the human side of this economic issue. Now let's explore what's being done and what can be done to address the problems of these high drug costs. Efforts to lower prescription drug costs include government regulation, pharmacy benefit reform, and increased transparency in pricing practices. The Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 allows Medicare to negotiate prices for some high-cost drugs, which is a historic change to the prescription market. Another thing that can be done and that can benefit patients is that pharmacy benefit managers, who act as middlemen between manufacturers and insurers, are facing calls for reforms to reduce hidden fees and improve price transparency. Thirdly, expanding access to generic drugs can significantly lower prices, the change as seen in other countries, where they don't have to abide by patents and they can produce medications that otherwise would be too expensive. Now that we've examined the causes, consequences, and possible solutions, let's take a moment to summarize what this all means. In summary, the rising cost of prescription medications is driven by complex factors such as high development expenses, limited regulation, and a lack of competition. These costs have widespread effects on patients and the healthcare system, but emergent policies and reforms show promise in improving affordability. The next time you pick up a prescription, remember that the price tag reflects more than just a pill. It reflects a system in need of change. Understanding the reasons behind rising drug costs is the first step towards ensuring everyone can afford the care that they need. Thank you for coming.